am back from the Spookala Holiday Spooktacular. This took place December 17th and 18th, 2022. Closing out the year of conventions for me. I think this was like my 5th or 6th convention of the year, and the 3rd one I vended at this year. Once again with Stabbing Cabin Studios with my buddy Rob. Usually we have Austin with us as well, but he wasn't able to make this one, so it was just the two of us holding down the fort this time. We teamed up with Michael Burnett's Fright Night Studios. Michael Burnett is working on Executioner with us, so we kind of teamed up with him and used a little bit of his space to set up our stuff in. As usual, we had an array of masks and props and VHS and other random bits and pieces there for sale. So Friday afternoon, we loaded up the trailer, headed out to the con, and set up. We were very lucky in that our booth area was right by some of the larger loading dock doors, so it was pretty easy to get our stuff out of the trailer and into the venue.
All right, Spookala December show 2022. Corey Feldman playing loud music over there. Kind of weird, but we got our setup here. Got Mikey and Loomis guarding some smaller props and VHS. Art the Clown, Jason, tons of Myers, none, more art. Jason, all my prop weapons and stuff over here. Tomorrow we'll have the full Executioner setup, and the coolest part, got our own little hidden backstage area over here, so I can just sit here and spy out on people from the depths. This is great. This is the night before the con starts. Like I said, Corey Feldman sound checking over here. He was just throwing a hissy fit, which was fucking hilarious. So, can only go up from here. We got some bare mannequin ass hanging out back here.
Unlike a lot of cons, this was just a Saturday, Sunday. There was no Friday component to this one. So Friday was just a lot of setup and prep and all that fun stuff. Saturday was really the heavy hitter day of the convention. Relatively early on in the day, I decided to put on my Silent Night, Deadly Night, or I guess just Silent Night cosplay. This is from the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake that came out, I think, in 2012. I wore it last year at another convention. I ended up bloodying it up this year. It was clean last time, and I wanted something a little more visceral, I guess. So I redid some bits and pieces of it just to make it look a little more gnarly. And I wore that a bit in the morning. Thankfully, it was a much cooler weekend than the con I did last year. So it was a little more tolerable to wear this around, which definitely made a difference. It's funny, the costume itself, you know, I would think the Santa suit would be warm. But that's not bad because the material is relatively thin. It's putting the like beard and stuff on your face, just it's like you're just breathing your own CO2 all day. So that's the part I dislike about this thing. I didn't really get much video or anything of myself in the costume until Sunday night when I wore it again. But I was happily surprised to see the vlogger Tampa J came through our booth relatively early when I was still wearing this. And I got some good interactions with him and his girlfriend. And yeah, I'm like the thumbnail to their video for Spookala. They posted some photos on Instagram of me in the costume. And yeah, there's a good bit of me in that section of their video. So if you want to see this cosplay in a little more action, go check their video out. It was really cool to get included in that as much as I did. So having two people at the booth, it was hard to really go ahead and do a lot of other stuff. You know, one of us had to be there at all times, and being on that backside, you know, even just doing something like running to the restroom or running to go get a drink took a little bit of time to get through the crowds and everything. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to really do a lot of shopping or interacting with stuff on Saturday. It was relatively busy early on in the day, and one of the interesting things that Spookala does is that it's all in one big location. It's all in one giant, it's probably not a barn, it's some horse exhibition center that they have. I mean, that whole thing is like a weird horse compound that they hold everything at. World Equestrian Center in Ocala, Florida. Just a very interesting place that I never knew existed until this con came up. It's something else, that's for sure. But because everything's in one place, the way they set it up is they have basically the autograph area and photo ops on one end of the building. It's almost like a big football field, you know, so one side's that, the middle is all the vendors, And then on the opposite end, there's the stage where they do the panels and the musical guests. The advantage of that is that if you don't want to be laser focused on a panel or a musical act, you don't have to be. You can kind of hear it wherever you are wandering around. So you do get to experience kind of everything all at once in a weird way. I don't remember off the top of my head which panels they did during the morning. Later in the afternoon, they had Tim Capello from the Lost Boys, the sax guy from the Lost Boys, doing a little performance. He played multiple songs, and he did include the classic, I Still Believe.
Oh, sorry.
Which is, I think, what most people know him for from the Lost Boys. Jamie Kennedy got up and did some stand-up, though several minutes into that, his mic died, so there's some technical difficulties. I think they eventually got his mic going again, but it was quieter from where I was. It wasn't very close to the stage, so while I could hear the very beginning of what he was doing, once they got his mic fixed, I couldn't really hear it. It sounded like the audience could because I could hear them laughing and reacting, but it definitely wasn't carrying as far as it had prior to the technical issues. Not a big deal, but, I was kind of curious to hear where he was going to go. He kind of was just getting started when the mic incident happened, so a little disappointed I couldn't hear more of what was going on there. After that was Corey Feldman's band. And by this point in the day, I don't know if the con was kind of naturally slowing down or if Corey just kind of ground everything to a screaming halt with his performance, in terms of taking a bunch of the audience and moving them over to that section instead of the vendor room and things like that. I will say, when they did the performances in May, I think it was Corey Taylor and Ice Nine Kills, which now I'm wondering if they're going to have somebody named Corey performing at every single Spookala, and then I'm like, well, who else is named Corey that plays music? Not really sure about that one. But those ones back in May were acoustic sets, and I honestly wondered because there were a lot of rules at the May event. I remember reading about, cosplaying outside of the convention area and that being affecting the horses and stuff. And honestly, I think some of it is less the horses and more the rich people that own the horses, not wanting to offend them or creep them out. I thought that was maybe part of why the sets that were at the May one were all acoustic, and then some of those artists played, a normal set at an after party later that night. But Corey's band was definitely all plugged in and everything, and it was really loud. It was hard to carry on conversations in the rest of the hall while that was going on. And while I'm guessing they probably made a lot of money off of having Feldman there and doing his thing, it did feel like it wasn't the best thing ever, just because it made doing any business with people really hard. I don't know if other vendors had this problem, but yeah, it just felt like it was difficult to do anything else while that was going on. And to be quite honest, I don't particularly care for his form of music or his musical abilities. That wasn't great. It also ran long. The show was supposed to be over at 7 on Saturday, and he played late beyond that point. And then we were kind of just stuck there waiting for it to be over because we didn't want to leave our stuff there while there were still people in the hall. So that was a bit of a negative. Once he did finish playing, because he was only supposed to be there Saturday, he went and signed some autographs. We misheard what he said. It sounded like he had said he was signing for free after the show, but he was only signing his box set for free of his music. Everything else he was charging for. But after all that, I did decide to go ahead and get myself an autograph. Obviously, part 4, Friday the 13th, had to be what I got. I was a little torn with Lost Boys, but this felt like the better thing. I've got a ton of Friday stuff up on my wall, so that made the most sense. My buddy Rob also had I don't know if it was really a mask. I don't think it was big enough to be a mask, but like a latex head of that monster that he has in part 4 where he's like moving the eyes and chomping them out. You know, when Tommy Jarvis is showing off the masks and stuff he makes, he has like a replica of one of those, and he got that signed as well. We were laughing because like this quotes he wrote beyond just, you know, his name and stuff were a little weird. Like, I think he charged extra if you didn't want it personalized, which that wasn't a big deal. Most of my stuff's personalized. But, you know, like, he wrote, like, God bless on here. It's, you know, whatever. We were joking. It's just crossed out. It'd be, like, Satan damn or something on there. But on Rob's, he wrote something to the effect of, get out of the woods and into my tent. It's like, that's an odd choice of quotes to put on there. I mean, you know, whatever. He definitely seems like an odd guy. He looked very much like Michael Jackson the whole time he was there, which was interesting. Interesting to say the least. But enough ragging on Corey Feldman. I mean, it was very cool that he was there. It was cool to have the opportunity to get an autograph from him, so I really shouldn't talk too much shit. After that, they did have a couple bars that were kind of associated with the convention. I think O'Malley's Alley had the VIP after party where I think some of the other musical guests were performing. I think first Jason and oh my god, I can't remember what they were called. There was some kind of like ICP spin-off or something. Yeah, I think they were playing out there. Maybe a couple others. And then there was like a regular after party at a bar called Mutiny. And that's where we ended up heading. Probably drank more that night than I have in years, which is kind of sad. Really, I don't drink all that often, but yeah, that was a fun time.
It's all right. I'll puke with you. It'll be fun. I'll make puking fun.
And then, you know, woke up Sunday morning. I think I was still kind of drunk, and thankfully the con started an hour later than it did Saturday, so we dragged ourselves out there for day 2.
Spookala, day 2.
Sunday was definitely a lot quieter. Also, where we were was the opposite side of the convention from the front door, which is funny because we were right near the front door last time. So last time we had a lot of like people that would stop by and then they were going to go walk around the rest of the floor and maybe come back. This time I think we were probably in the end of people's journeys through the con. So it did take a while from doors opening to people actually getting back to us. It did pick up a little bit in the afternoon, but there was definitely a little more time to go and get autographs and cosplay and all that kind of stuff throughout Sunday. It was a lot easier to go do stuff. So I think right around noon, I went to go get the autographs that I needed, besides Feldman, of course. First up was Alex Winter. My friend Colin, who's been getting that Doppelganger's Alex Pardee book signed, sent it with me to get his autograph on the Bill and Ted page, which I got. I think he was one of the first people that I've encountered at a con who recognized the book. I don't think he knew by name or what it was or anything like that, but he was like, oh yeah, I've seen this, which doesn't happen. Most of the people look at it, it's like, I've never heard of this in my life. So that was interesting. It was a little different reaction there. And then I also had to get myself a Bill and Ted signed photo. So that was very cool. And then the best part, like one of the highlights of the weekend for me is I had made some Halloween 78 style prop knives for this con. These are deluxe. Usually the ones I make are wood, so they're like con safe, but these ones I made out of, well, aluminum blades, wood handles, brass rivets. Like, they're pretty legit. They have a great weight to them. I do all these videos of mine turn into sales pitches now, but I got Nick Castle to sign the prototype. I have 3 of these. I sold one at the con. I have 1 left over, and then this initial prototype is the one that I had him sign just because, yeah, it's the other 2 I think came out a little better than this one since I had practice making this other one first, but felt like the right thing. I had Tyler Main sign the prototype RZ style knife I made, and now I got the original shape to sign this. Asked him to sign it, the shape 78. You know, I felt that was probably called this a 78 slasher, so that felt right to have him sign it in that respect. And then I got a photo with him holding the knife, and I mean, I know he probably pulled whatever the hell you paid him to sign, but that just made my day. I was geeking out over that for hours and hours, and probably still am geeking out over it now. So very excited about this. I got the shadow box. I'm printing out the photos. So I'm going to put that all together a little later and hang it up on my shelf. Super psyched. And the last autograph I got was Dick Wieand, who played the non-masked version of Roy in Friday the 13th Part 5. I love Friday 5. I already got Tom Morga's autograph from it, and you know, he was a big part of our previous Spookala experience, so it felt right to continue the Part 5 trend and get this autograph. Honestly, like, looking through my Friday autographs, I think this was one of the last major ones that I really needed, like one of the last killers, I guess, that I needed that I could actually get. Betsy Palmer being the only other one that really is not, you know, an option. But it was exciting to get this one. You know, I've got all the other main Jasons, and this felt like a necessary variant to have in the set. Throughout the rest of the day, I did take a couple moments to go out and go look at some other vendors. I filmed kind of a walkthrough of the floor as well. I didn't end up buying much of anything. I realized that I forgot to buy a Spookala t-shirt that I wanted to get. Hopefully they'll have that up online at some point, I hope. They kind of had like a metal font with their name on it. I thought that would have been cool to grab, but I just totally forgot to get out there. only thing else I ended up really picking up were some Godzilla VHS. I've been trying to build up my collection. I'm actually getting a pretty decent amount in there now. I actually got several here. First one is Godzilla vs. Megalon. I have the movie, but not this cover, and this is a really cool cover. This was actually a gift from Jonathan, Halloween Killer 93. He does a lot of his custom mask stuff out of the Creature Workshop booth. We always hang out with them every con. We actually had dinner with them on Friday night, so I was really happy to get my hands on this. Got a couple other variants I didn't already have. I got the Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is very similar in style to that Megalon. So they must have come out of the same set or something. I gotta look up how these were released. But it has that kind of weird, like, handwritten font style on it. Very cool looking, though. Also got Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, the original. Another one that I have, but not in this format. This one looks to be out of the box set where it all builds out to be the Godzilla 1984 art. Not the most interesting spine on that side, but gives me motivation to go pick up the others with that spine and build out that set, which would be really cool. And then last but not least, I got Godzilla vs. Biollante, one that I've been looking for. One of my favorite covers of the entire Godzilla series. So really happy to get my hands on that. Beyond that, there were a couple other panels and things throughout the day. Tim Capello came up and played I Still Believe yet again, which is kind of cool. Really, quick, played the song, got off the stage, that was about it. There was a big Terrifier 2 panel, there was a Nick Castle panel. I think the Terrifier 2 panel even had a live performance of that Clown Cafe song, so that was kind of cool. And then towards the afternoon, similar to what happened last time, it did slow down a bit. They run pretty late on a Sunday. I don't think it ended until like 6 o'clock. And by 4 it was really starting to slow down. I think people were heading home and stuff. And even that early, some of the vendors were starting to pack up. We didn't pack up quite that early, but we did start packing up a bit on the early side, just because it really didn't seem like there was much reason not to at that point. And yeah, loaded everything up and, made like Buffalo Bill and said goodbye horses and got out of there.
And that about does it for the Spookala Christmas event. I guess not everybody quite made it out, but more or less went all right. So time to pack up and start heading out.
So, very fun weekend, very exhausting weekend. Definitely want to say thank you to everybody that stopped by the booth, especially everybody that bought stuff, people that checked out the teaser for Executioner, people that took photos with the life sizes we had. Thanks as well to all of our vendor friends that stopped by and hung out and all that fun stuff. And of course the Fright Night Studios for giving us some space at the con to set up our stuff. I see Spookala has announced a January pop-up. I highly doubt we're going to do anything related to that because I think we're all busy around that time. But I know we are probably going to plan to do another one of their shows in the future because we definitely have been having fun. I think they're doing at least one more out in Ocala and then they're doing another out in Tampa. I know people don't like it when cons move from where they kind of start or build up their following. But Tampa's a good location for me personally, so I really won't argue with going out there. I end up going out there quite a bit anyway, so that definitely wouldn't be a bad thing. And Stabbing Cabin Studios has big plans for the next year in terms of what we have for sale, in terms of where we're selling stuff, and in terms of getting Executioner shot and out and available for people to watch. Really exciting stuff coming up. I'm so looking forward to what's coming next. And, I'm lucky to have great friends to do this with. So, yeah, that wraps it up for Spookala Holiday Spooktacular 2022. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.